question is from Amanda10. Every time my family sees a video of me squatting, they say, watch your knees, because the women in my family have a history of arthritis and bursitis. Are there any special considerations I should take into account while lifting with that history?
Nope.
No. Yeah, your special considerations are the same considerations that we would tell anybody to have, which is to ensure good technique, good control, good stability. And if you don't have those things, work towards those things, and to always train appropriately. That's it. So it used to be believed that joints got bad because they were used too much. Okay. Technically, that could happen. Very unlikely. You'd have to really beat yourself up with just work. This is what usually happens 99% of the time. Joints are used in suboptimal ways over and over again, and that causes problems. So it's no different than a machine, right? Look at a machine with pulleys. If you got a pulley with a chain on it and the chain is off just slightly and then pulley's still working, over time it's going to twist the pulley or cause problems. Or if you're looking at like a sliding glass door that slides on a groove and it's slightly off the groove, it's going to start to chew up the groove a little bit. The joints are not, here's what's different about your joints than a machine. Your joints are alive. That's living tissue that adapts and strengthens. So if you squat appropriately and properly with good technique, good stability, good control, not only will you not cause knee pain, you will prevent knee pain. You will cause your knees to be healthier longer. This is why old people who strength train properly have far better mobility than people who don't move. That's a fact. So it's the opposite. Now, this whole like family history.
You're training the muscles as strength to get you through the movement. I mean, the only thing really, if you're going to go from like the frequency aspect of it is if you're always continuously in the sagittal plane and reinforcing that, one plane of motion to where, this is why we always kind of bring up like unilateral training, or we bring up other ways to kind of have your joints acclimate towards these other stresses, twisting or sideways kind of forces to consider. So you have to be able to sprinkle that in or step out of like your programming to make sure you're accounting for those types of movements so your joint can be reinforced and strengthened. But other than that, I mean, squatting and strengthening is everything.
So we should also break down though what arthritis and bursitis is and the difference, right? Like I had bursitis in my hips, and I had bursitis in my hips because I had weak hips and poor mobility.
Yep.
So I had
stems from the weakness.
Yeah. So I had weak hips. I had poor hip mobility, and I was still strength training. And what would happen, or I would sit in a car for a long period of time, and I would get just the worst pain in my hip. It felt like someone was sticking a knife in the side of my hip. And what ends up happening is your body thinks that there's an injury or something is wrong with that area because I'm weak and lack the mobility, yet I was still squatting and strength training. And so then it sends fluid there into these sacs, and those sacs are what ends up pushing out and then causing all this like pain.
They become inflamed.
Yeah, and it becomes inflamed. Now, arthritis is autoimmune. So that's something that genetically someone could have passed down, or it could be something that your body's
there's different kinds of arthritis.
Rheumatoid arthritis, which is
rheumatoid would be autoimmune.
Yeah.
Then there's like osteo or arthritis from poor movement that can cause the joints to start to degenerate. So nonetheless, regardless of the kind of arthritis that you have, having joints that are strong and mobile and supported well and that move the way that they're supposed to will make whatever your propensity to have much better. In other words, even if you have
my bursitis is gone.
Well, bursitis is totally different. Bursitis, like those fluid.
That's why I wanted to tell the difference, because they're not the same thing. You have to understand that they're not
inflammation driven.
Yes.
Well, the bursa sacs themselves get inflamed. The bursa sacs are filled with, I think, synovial fluid, and the job is to cushion the joint, allow the joint to move well. But if it's not moving well, it's pressing on those bursa sacs. The sacs become inflamed in an attempt to limit movement. So here's the thing that people need to realize with the body. It's smart.
It's a safety mechanism.
And so your body, when you're not moving well, your body will try to limit movement with tight muscles, with inflamed bursitis, with all kinds of things to kind of make you stop moving it so that it can heal. But if you're moving poorly and you go back to moving poorly, you're just going to cause that problem to happen again. So for you with your bursitis in your hips, it flared up when you squatted.
Yeah.
So you stop squatting.
Yep.
And it went away.
But this was where it gets kind of frustrating because there's a lot of fear. You know, you go to your doctor about all this stuff. It's like, well, we need to address this like crazy inflammation. And then you look at like cortisol shots and things to like deal with that, which is literally temporary. We're not like building strength and better like recruitment patterns to absolve that problem. And then later on, what's the next thing that they're going to offer is surgery. And it's like, those are the two hammers that they have. So you have to look at it from a physical therapy / like exercise lens.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Justin. And this is why I wanted to talk a little bit more about this. If I went to the doctor and complained about my bursitis, that is what they give me.
Of course.
Give me a shot to bring down the inflammation,
right there,
and then tell me I should lay off the heavy squatting. That would have been the prescription.
And you would have felt better.
Yep.
Yes.
And you would have felt better. But your recruitment pattern, the way you moved won't change.
So what eliminated it though was doing 90/90s and squatting deeper. So getting to a place where I had hip mobility and I had hip strength and stability, and then
more glute involvement,
and then strengthening it up even more by taking a full range deep squat. And now I haven't had that in almost 10 years now.
It would be
crazy how bad it was too. I mean, it was so bad for the audience to understand how it wasn't like I kind of had this. I had it so bad that if I drove in a car for longer than 15 to 20 minutes, I would have to pull over and get out and like stretch my legs because it literally felt like someone was sticking a knife in the side of my head.
Think about it. This, like, I've used this example before. I think it's a good analogy. It's like, imagine a window, you open your window and the window slides along a groove. So the bottom of the window maybe has like a little fin that slides in a groove, and you slide the window open and you slide it back. And then you notice, oh my God, it's getting all chewed up towards the front of the track that it runs on. But rather than line up the window better, which is probably what you need to do, you just spray some more lubricant on it. And you just do that over and over again to make, well, it's not going to work for very long. At some point, it's going to continue to break down.
Yeah, friction's still happening.
Yeah, the solution would be, why is it dragging so hard against the front side of this track? And you look at it, you're like, it's not lined up properly. Let me line up the window a little better. And then boom, no problem. You don't need to worry about it anymore. That's how the joints work. They work in a way that's optimal. And then there's suboptimal ways that allow them to work. But if you add load to the suboptimal ways and you use them over and over again, then you start to get the kind of wear and tear that your body can't heal from, because it's wear and tear that it's not normal wear and tear, and it causes problems. Now, the other part of the question was, I have a family history. You may have a family history of movement patterns and joints that move in a particular way. And so there may be issues that pop up in your family because of it, but that doesn't mean you can't work on the root issue, right? You may have a family history of low back pain because everybody's maybe, genetically has a little bit of an anterior pelvic tilt, or maybe your knees, you have knees that come in at an angle, like mine do that a little bit, right? So once you notice that, you work on areas to support and strengthen. You work on mobility, you work on the right exercise and how to perform those exercises, find the root issue, then your knees are gonna be healthier than if you didn't do those things at all. Far healthier. So that's the answer.